Now, here's your host, Deborah Duncan.
Welcome to Great Day, everyone. Houston's a great international city, so today we're starting with the international language, music. Many famous musicians have called Houston home. While you might be familiar with country artists like Willie Nelson or hip-hop stars Beyonce and Lizzo, Houston also has a rich history with jazz and blues music. Blues was born on the bayou. The early days produced legends like Lightning Hopkins, Arnett Cobb, and Jewel Brown. Born in 1937, Jewel is, as her name implies, a real treasure in the world of music. We recently spoke to her about growing up in Houston, her life as a jazz singer, and touring with Louis Armstrong.
Build your dreams to the stars above, and when you need someone to love.
The first encounter that I had with Jewel was so interesting. I now call her the sassy grandma.
Come home to me.
She put Houston on the map before Beyonce, before Paul Wall, before Bun B, before Archie Bell and the Drells, the Jazz Crusaders. She's the one who actually landed the job with the largest and America's first pop star, Louis Armstrong.
Now it's time for our vocalists to come up and entertain you. Here she comes, Jewel Brown, right here.
I was started singing at 5 years old in the junior choir at my church. I had a father that you couldn't go to the movie on Saturdays if you didn't participate in some churchly activity. What I did was sing in the junior choir. And I was able to go to the movies at the Park Theater. Back in the day, the bus stop was right by the drugstore, and they had a juke joint across the street from the and I used to go in there with the nickels my father would give me. I would go and put it in the jukebox and learn those records, because we couldn't afford to buy any.
There were plenty of comfortable juke joint type places in the neighborhood. They would have sock hops for teenagers and or talent shows where kids that couldn't go in a nightclub could come on a Saturday afternoon and they'd spin records and could dance. The great Jewel Brown, she had mainly only performed before other people in church until she got up the nerve to go enter a Saturday talent show as a young girl over there and won it.
It was just evidently time out for me at the talent shows. That's when all kind of jobs was created for me after that. I worked everywhere, surrounding areas, including 90 miles. I would do my first show at the Club Ebony. And it would be almost 2 hours before, more than 2 hours before the next show. I hopped in the car and ran to Beaumont and did a show and got back in time for my second show. And my mother would be right there. And I'd drive to all those places. I was 11 years old when I got my driver's license. I took my band to Corpus Christi at 12 years old with musicians like Don Wilkerson, who Ray Charles took him from me. They called him the Texas Twister.
And by the time, she's in her teens, she's cutting records and becoming a big-time person. Not long after she made her initial recordings with Duke, she married Eddie Curtis, a band leader from Galveston who was working with Duke. And Eddie took her to New York, and she makes some recordings for some labels in New York. She's playing jazz clubs in New York.
Now if you want me to love you, you gotta love me too.
And she ends up in Dallas, working for the notorious Jack Ruby before he was known to the world as the person who shot Lee Harvey Oswald, who shot JFK back at that time. But Jack Ruby owned a bunch of nightclubs.
I didn't have not one day off for a year and a half. The gentleman that wanted to give me $100 to sing Stormy Weather didn't want to come up because he wasn't with who he was supposed to be with. And the young lady that he was with didn't want to bring it to me. And so they called Mr. Ruby to bring me the $100. And he said to me, all right, where's my half? I said, half of what? Mr. Ruby, If you can't respect me as a black woman, you could at least respect me as your entertainer who been keeping your place packed every night. I'm proud of me that I was already told about the traps. With his help, I dodged them. And that made my mom and my dad, before they left here, proud of me. Tony Papa, who was over Associated Booking Corporation, the branch office there in Dallas, called me up. And he said, I need to talk with you on business. I said, well, okay. So I went there to the office. And when I got there, he asked me almost immediately, who would I like to be with, Duke Ellington or Louis Armstrong? And I looked at him and right quick I said, Louis Armstrong. Well, I had already conversationed enough with all the different musicians that Duke Ellington didn't love to fly. Every time they went to Europe, they went by boat. And Louis Armstrong, it would be 7 with me. With Duke, it was 17. With Duke. I know the money got to be different.
She told me that there was about 300 to 350 female vocalists to audition for that position for the All-Stars. She received a call while she was working in Dallas that she not only received the position, but she needed to be in Houston for a plane ride. And of course, everybody knows it takes 3 to 4 hours from Dallas to Houston.
I was down that freeway like I had wings.
She's already recording. She's already played in Las Vegas, New York, all over Texas. She's done well. But when she joins Louis Armstrong's band, suddenly she is playing all over the world.
What did you hear about Jerry? Back in the days, I used to get million-mile certificates from all the airlines. We traveled so much. Germany, South Korea, Prague, Czechoslovakia, all in Budapest, Hungary, and all of that. I've been around the world 3.5 times plus.
Great God Almighty, that's my working man's friend.
It's interesting that how we hooked up because I was working with Joe Sample, with the Joe Sample Jazz Orchestra. Joe and I had a great relationship that actually wound up meeting Jewel Brown on a performance in Galveston.
Joe had told me during rehearsal, Jewel, we got to record together. I said, well, you just let me know when. He couldn't make it. He couldn't hold on. But I understood later on that he told Nick Allen, his assistant director and ghostwriter, he told him, do something with her. And so far, I think we put together some real good stuff.
This is our first album project that we're actually going to be releasing soon. We're excited that we finally get a chance to release it.
Nick Allen's a great guy. He's a great composer. He has great creativity and all that. Everything I write or do, he's got somehow or another just the right kind of music to put behind it.
Let's try it again. Scratching. Yes, that same part. I'm tired of your niches and glitches. I really, really love Jewel Brown. She's like my musical mother. So the music, in my opinion, is a complete cast of her. And she wants that memory to be out there as why she's the person she is. She can make you feel sexy. She can even make you feel happy. She can possibly even get you to cry. But at the end of the day, she's gonna get you to dance. I think her motivation to why she's performing live at the level she's performing now is because she has a serious love for the people that she's singing for.
All I know is I know that these people have gotten dressed and prepared themselves and spent their money, and I get on that stage and I want to please them. I want them to feel like it was all worth it.
The great Jewel Brown is the jewel of Third Ward in my eyes, and will be forever.
I believe she's Houston's very first pop star.
The time comes when you do the best you can do the best you can. While you can, when you can, if you can, however you can, for as long as you can, for who you can, as long as the good Lord say you can.
Jewel, you are all worth it, and you are a diamond. You can follow Jewel Brown on her Facebook page at facebook.com/Jewel Brown Female Jazz and Blues. Also, Houston has so many wonderful resources that chronicle our great history. We would like to give a special thanks to the organizations listed for their help in providing Great Day Houston with historical photos and videos for Jewel's interview. After the break, tales from a wildlife adventurer who's traveled to every continent, rediscovered